You made your boss $300 today. He paid you $30. You think that's capitalism. Warren Buffett calls it something else, the greatest wealth transfer in human history, and you're on the wrong side of it. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how much money is being extracted from your labor every single day, why the system is designed to keep you blind to it, and the one shift in thinking that separates people who work for money from people who make money work for them. Let's start with a number, $4. That's what you actually take home for every hour of value you create. Not 30, 4. The rest? It vanishes. And I'm going to show you exactly where it goes, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's how the scam works. You clock in. You generate value. Your company captures that value, then they pay you a fraction, a tiny fraction. The difference between what you produce and what you receive is called surplus value. Economists have fancy names for it, but Buffett just calls it the moat, and you're on the wrong side of the castle. Let's break down your $30 hour. First, taxes take $7. That's gone before you even touch it. Then there's rent. In most cities, you're spending $15 to $20 of that hour just to keep a roof over your head. Food, transport, insurance, utilities, another $6. What's left? Maybe $2 to $4 of actual discretionary income. That's your reward for 60 minutes of labor. But here's the part nobody talks about. While you're netting $4, your company is booking $270 in profit from your work. That's not an exaggeration. Studies show the average employee generates 6 to 10 times their salary in value. Some sectors, it's 20 times. You're not being paid for your value. You're being paid the minimum necessary to keep you showing up. Now, if you're thinking, that's just how business works, you're right. But here's the question. Why are you on the losing end of that equation? Warren Buffett figured this out at 14. He didn't want to be the person trading time for money. He wanted to be the person who owned the system that made money from other people's time. Let me show you how deep this goes. Imagine you work 40 hours a week. That's 2,000 hours a year. At $30 an hour, you make $60,000 annually. Sounds decent, but your labor generated $600,000 in value. $540,000 was extracted from your effort. Over a 30-year career, that's $16 million in value you never saw. Here's where it gets darker. That $16 million didn't disappear. It went somewhere. It paid for the CEO's third home. It bought back company stock. It funded dividends for shareholders. People who never met you got rich off your labor, and the system convinced you this was fair because you got a check. Buffett owns Coca-Cola stock. Every time someone buys a Coke, he makes money. He doesn't work at Coca-Cola, he doesn't bottle drinks, he doesn't drive trucks. He just owns a piece of the system, and the system pays him. That's the difference between working in the system and owning the system. One makes you tired, the other makes you wealthy. Now, most people hear this and think, okay, so I'll just start a business. But here's the trap. Starting a business often means you go from employee to self-employed. You're still trading time for money. You're just doing it without a safety net. That's not freedom. That's a different kind of prison. The real move? Build or buy systems that generate value without your direct labor. Buffett doesn't work 40 hours a week at Berkshire Hathaway to maintain his wealth. His wealth maintains itself because he owns systems, real estate, stocks, businesses. These things work while he sleeps. That's the shift from labor to ownership. Let's talk about time. You have 80,000 hours in your career, maybe more if you're young. Most people spend those hours generating wealth for someone else. Then they retire with a fraction of what they produced. That's not a career. That's a systematic extraction of your life's energy. And it's legal. Celebrate it even. Here's a test. Ask yourself, if I stopped working today, would money still come in next month? If the answer is no, you don't have wealth. You have a job. And a job is just a short-term solution to a long-term problem. The problem, you need money to live. The solution isn't to work harder, it's to own things that generate money. If you're still watching, drop a comment with the word ownership so I know you're seeing the pattern, because what I'm about to show you next is how the system keeps you trapped even when you think you're making progress.
Let's talk about lifestyle inflation. You get a raise. Finally, you're making $40 an hour instead of $30. You feel rich, so you upgrade. Bigger apartment, nicer car, better restaurants, and suddenly you're back to netting $4 an hour. The trap resets. You're running faster on the same treadmill. This is by design. Consumer culture exists to absorb your raises. Every time you make more, there's a product waiting to take it. The system doesn't want you accumulating capital, it wants you spending, because spending keeps you working, and working keeps you from building wealth. Buffett lives in the same house he bought in 1958. It cost $31,000. He's worth over $100 billion. He didn't get there by upgrading his lifestyle every time his net worth increased. He got there by reinvesting. Every dollar he didn't spend on luxury bought him another piece of the system, and the system paid him back 1,000 times over. Here's the math that changes everything. If you take that $4 of discretionary income from each hour and invest it instead of spending it, something shifts. $4 an hour is $8,000 a year. Invested at 10% return, in 30 years, that's $1.4 million. That's your extracted value, captured and redirected. But most people won't do this because they've been trained to see money as something you earn and spend, not something you capture and deploy. The rich see money differently. They see it as soldiers. Every dollar is a worker you send out into the economy, and if you deploy them correctly, they bring back reinforcements. Now, I need to be clear about something. I'm not saying your job is worthless. I'm saying your job is a starting point, not a destination. The paycheck is seed capital. It's your ticket into the game. But if you spend the ticket instead of playing the game, you'll never win. Let's go deeper. Why does your boss get to keep $270 of value you created? Because he took a risk. He built the system. He owns the infrastructure. Your labor plugs into his infrastructure, and the infrastructure captures most of the value. That's the game. So the question isn't, is this fair? The question is, how do I build my own infrastructure? This is where people get stuck. They think infrastructure means factories and supply chains, but infrastructure can be simple. A rental property is infrastructure. A dividend stock portfolio is infrastructure. An automated online business is infrastructure. Anything that generates value without requiring your direct labor every single hour is infrastructure. Buffett's genius wasn't complicated. He bought infrastructure that other people operated. Then he bought more infrastructure with the profits. He repeated this for 70 years. That's it. No secret sauce, no hack. Just relentless focus on ownership over labor. Here's what nobody tells you about financial freedom. It's not about having enough money to stop working. It's about having enough infrastructure that your labor becomes optional. When you can choose to work, you're free. When you have to work, you're captured. The system counts on you staying captured. Let me give you a real number. If your infrastructure generates $4,000 a month, you've replaced a $40,000 salary. To most people, that feels impossible, but break it down. $4,000 a month is $48,000 a year. At a 5% return, you need $960,000 invested. Sounds like a lot, but over 20 years of disciplined saving and investing, it's reachable. The people who reach it don't earn more than you. They just capture more of what they earn. They don't see their paycheck as spending money. They see it as ammunition, and they fire every dollar into assets that pay them back. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people won't do this. They'll watch this video, feel motivated for 30 minutes, then go back to the pattern. Work, spend, repeat. And that's fine. The system needs workers. But if you're different, if something in you rejects the idea of trading your entire life for a fraction of its value, then you have to act differently. If this is landing for you, hit the like button. Not for me, for you. Because the algorithm promotes this video to people who engage, and those people might need to hear this. You could be the reason someone else breaks the pattern. Here's your action step. Calculate your real hourly take-home, not your salary, what you actually keep after taxes, rent, food, and fixed expenses. That's your number. Now ask, what am I doing with this number? If the answer is spending it, you're playing the wrong game. If the answer is investing it, you're on the path. Warren Buffett doesn't want you to stay poor. The system does. Warren Buffett openly shares how wealth is built. He teaches it. He writes about it. But the system buries his message under noise, under ads for things you don't need, under influencers selling lifestyles you can't afford.
The system profits from your confusion. Clarity is the threat. So here's the payout I promised you at the start. You're not making $30 an hour, you're making $4, and you'll keep making $4 until you shift from labor to ownership. The scam isn't that you're underpaid. The scam is that you were never taught to ask where the other $270 went. Now you know. What you do with that knowledge is up to you.